Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming back to another Living Life Naturally podcast. And today, my guest is Nancy McNaughton, and she is the founding director of I can't even
Opening.
speak this morning, Opening Doors to Success Inc., which she officially incorporated in 2009. So her organization employs a team of professionals who work with her. And there's an unemployed community membership, I believe, to
Yes.
connect with meaningful business opportunities in Southeast Manitoba region of Canada. And the success of the organization is attributed to its major focus on empowering their clients to value themselves and the gifts they have to offer their community while becoming aware of mindsets that might be holding them back. So in addition to this, Nancy is an Erickson Professional Life Coach and the owner of Dreality Coaching Services, and she teaches her system, tools, and strategies to help her clients become more self-aware while building their emotional wellness. And she believes that we cannot truly live our dreams without a level of emotional fitness, and that is just so true. So she was diagnosed with clinical depression in her 20s, and living in a deep, dark pit of despair. She was told that she could live a normal life if she remained on the prescribed medication for the rest of her life. But she refused to live a normal life and decided to have an exceptional life without the medication. And she didn't realize at the time that this decision would lead her to a journey that would reveal to her the strategies and keys, the key fundamentals to emotional fitness and overcoming depression. So you can imagine why she's passionate about achieving what many may consider impossible. And her personal complete recovery from a mental illness diagnosis over 20 years ago has been her motivation for success. And she's made it her life's mission to help others see their value and believe that it's possible to live their dreams. She believes she has the cure for depression, and she wants the world to know that there is hope and a system. So welcome to our podcast, Nancy.
Thank
So
you so much.
exciting.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I am so happy to be here.
So you are obviously from Manitoba, Canada, and how is your weather there at the moment?
At the moment, it's not too bad. It's a little bit cool, but the sun is shining. It's a nice day. It's one of the nicest ones we've had in a while.
So obviously you're really passionate about what you do because you have lived it. So tell us a little bit about your story and how you got started.
Wow, quite a story. Well, I mean, I'm 58 now, so my story, I guess, does begin when I came out of the deep depression, deciding to not be on medication. Like I said, led me on a journey of emotional wellness. So my story, sorry, can you just kind of repeat what are my
So just tell us a little bit about your background, your story in and of itself, and what led you to do what you're now doing. Because obviously your story led you to do what you're doing.
exactly. So I mean, many years ago, I was a commercial artist. That was my first. That was my very first career, and also I decided at one point to have a child. I have one boy, and then I decided to be a stay-at-home mom. So being a stay-at-home mom, not having the talents with, I was not passionate about housework, and I mean, I
Mm.
love to cook and everything, but I started to get bored, and I started to, my son was getting older, he was at school all day, and I was starting to get depressed and bored. And having a background of I'm healed from it and everything, but I would say, if I'm going to classify it, it was a very dysfunctional growing up. My dad coming from Italy and marrying my mother, who was 8 years younger, they really didn't know, how to parent, and
Mm.
they did the best that they could. So there was a lot of emotional stuff going on in my home. So of course, all of that kind of comes with you, but it kind of came to the surface and I fell into a deep depression, not knowing what to do. I fell into some different religious beliefs. I'm a spiritual person. I lost my spirit and who I was, looking to religion to find the answers. And in no way am I saying that that's not the way, but it's my story. So I fell into that deep depression. And I remember so vividly one day when I was home I had spent a couple weeks in the hospital, and then a year later in the hospital again for 1 week. And I was home, I was on the medication, and I was laying in bed, and I just, day after day, could not get out of bed, just enough to get my son off to school and cook supper for my husband. And I remember laying in bed, and I just popped up and I said, I just want to help people. It was just what came to my mind. I just want to help people, trying to figure out what to do. And from there on, it led me into a journey of personal development. And what I mean by that, I started attending workshops. I started reading books. One of the most powerful books I ever read that changed my life was Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. Because the foundation of my depression was fear, insecurity. And it was very, very hard for me to live with that. So I needed to numb those emotions because of the thoughts, right? Our thoughts are what drive our emotion. What are we saying to ourselves? So I learned all this along the way. So in that, helping people, I helped people with disabilities early in my career. I changed from being a commercial artist. I wanted to help people, not, sit behind which had then become a computer, because at first it wasn't. I go way back. So when I wanted to reapproach the workforce, and when I thought about going back to commercial art, it was like, commercial art's different now. We need computers. So, but no, I wanted to help people. So I started, like I said, helping people with disabilities, and then helping them with employment. So that meant finding their purpose, finding their value. I started sharing my story. And in all of this time, I was not on medication, because I had made up my mind to no, I don't want this, because I had heard of it was my choice, right? I wanted to have, like I said, I didn't want to have a normal life. I'm rebellious. Like I just had to prove that. The psychiatrist that told me that, as you shared in my story, to be honest, he was the saddest looking man I had ever seen in my life. Telling me that I was going to lead a normal life, and something just didn't sit good with me. He's not a happy man. I'm not going to take his advice. It's kind of what I do, but it's okay. So yeah, that led me on to this journey, and it kept evolving and evolving. And my most recent now, 2 years ago, because what happened was I was not recovered. I didn't know. No, I was not on antidepressants. I was not on medication, but my medication was food. So I battled my weight all of these years, up and down, always either I'm on a diet or I'm totally off of a diet. I'm an all or nothing kind of gal. So 2 years ago, I'm only 5'3". I'm not very tall. And 2 years ago, I had reached the weight of 237, which was climbing to one time I was at 267. So 2 years ago, I was 237 pounds, really deep into food addiction. And and I was desperate. I was thriving. I was, really into my organization was doing wonderful. I was coaching, I was helping people. So people didn't even know. I would show up to life, but deep down there was still something going on. So food, sugar and flour, was my medication. So about almost 2 years ago, I started on a journey of overcoming the addiction. So that meant really getting in tune with my emotions, asking myself every day when I'm craving something, what is it I really need? What am I really feeling? So I started doing parts work, inner family systems, getting to know what's going on, all those, those parts of me, including the depression, including the saboteur who kept telling me, that I needed more sugar and flour. So getting to know my emotions and myself. So I am down 80 pounds now.
Wow.
And one day at a time. I don't eat sugar, I don't eat flour. I plan what I'm going to eat the next day. Because I'm obsessive and I love that about me, I'm okay with weighing and measuring my food every day. Because now I'm in control of it. Food is not an issue anymore. It's taken care of. It's systematic, right? And so yeah, it's an ongoing journey for me. I'm still working with insecurities that come up, but now I'm paying attention. I'm feeling the feelings. I'm not running from them anymore. I used to gamble. I used to love the VLTs, for just to numb the emotions. And so yeah, actually admitting that sugar and flour is an addiction was very hard for me. It was very hard for me, but it can't be, and I am in my emotional fitness system. Vitamin U is about being unlabeled. So I had a hard time calling myself an addict, but I work with that. I am not an addict. I have an addictive brain because I do not believe in labeling ourselves. So I tried to find peace with that. You know what? Sugar and flour is poison to me. So I'm not labeled. I don't label myself.
I just so relate to that, because I think that we do go from one addiction to another and we don't realize it. And yes, I put it like I'm a sugarholic. Struggled all my life with my weight and dieting and not dieting, just like you. But if we conquer that one area, but we haven't dealt with the inner emotions, then we're still going from one thing to another. And I think when we get to midlife, especially when maybe our kids are leaving home and everything has changed, and we're beginning to ask ourselves, who am I? What am I all about? What's happening? It's really important to get that self-awareness and to really dig into what is it that's happening? What's driving me to this? Or why do I not feel worthy? So how do you deal with people that need to have that self-awareness?
I understand that everyone is in their own journey, right? And at the same time, I do meet younger people that are on that journey of self-awareness. And it would have been wonderful, if a lot of these tools and a lot of this way of thinking was in my younger years. So how do I deal with that? Acceptance, and acceptance as well at any age is key. And that's actually the very first nutrient, vitamin A, is first of all, accept. If I didn't accept myself where I was a couple years ago in my journey, I would have not been honest with myself to say, Nancy, you're killing yourself. It's time. And it was, to look in the mirror and be able to take a picture of me that heavy and, know that one day I'd have a before and after, which I do, which I'm very proud of. So acceptance is so important. And being an emotional fitness coach, sometimes it's hard for me because I just want to shake people and say, just, come on, and I just want to share my story. And that's where I sometimes have to just, because that can turn to anger, that can turn to frustration because I'm an empath. I feel their pain. It's like, don't you just get it? So that's kind of how I deal with just accept, and remember 2.5 years ago, I wasn't ready. I was really in a very dangerous path with my health.
Yeah. So tell us about some of the, obviously I don't want you to share everything that you do with people, but give our listeners some tips on how they can, I kind of hate to use the word overcome, but overcome where they're at and really dig down. Because for some people that have never really got in touch with their emotions, that's a very hard thing to do.
And that's where self-love begins. That's where you really, what is it you really want? It's not about focusing on what's wrong with me. How do I fix myself? It's like, well, what do you want? And what are the great things about you? And sometimes that's hard. because it's a change of thinking. But if you ever notice, I should have done this, even when we say I should have, we're beating ourselves up. What would you like to do? Or what do you get to do? Gratitude is huge, so it's a matter of starting to think different and you don't have to fix yourself. You are enough exactly where you are. And until we actually love ourselves enough, we're not going to do the stuff that needs the self-discipline, because it's hard to do. But I love myself. I deserve to feel good. I deserve to be my very best. So what I do with people is I walk them through different exercises I have them write a love letter to themselves. I have them write, a list of all the good things about them, even if it's just like, well, I like the curls in my hair. It's okay. We can start anywhere. You know what? Well, I like my glasses. I made a good choice in my glasses. Like every little thing. And then the more we start to think like that, the more if I can, I'll share a little story because it's about dreaming big. So 2.5 years ago, I was working with a life coach to try to really help me to get on track with my eating, with my weight. I just wanted to lose the weight and take control. So my life coach asked me, Nancy, how much do you want to weigh? How much do you want to lose? I said, well, I want to get down to 180. And she didn't say what. She just says, oh, that's interesting. How tall are you? And I says 5'3", and I knew exactly where she was going with that. As soon as she said that, and then I said 1'8". No, I want to be 145. But I was not dreaming about being 145 because I hadn't seen that since I was in my early 20s, and I'm 58, being 56 at the time. So all of a sudden, it was a big dream. And it was like, I was so motivated at that point. And that's when I started to do what I needed to do. I'm still about 15 pounds away from that goal weight, but I'm in the journey. So we need to see, I didn't think beyond that. I didn't believe I could get less than 180, but it didn't excite me enough because I had been so dreaming big, but dreaming and really, what do you really want? And nothing is too big to dream, because our dreams are really what motivate us. They're what get us excited. When I wanted to start my own organization now of 9 years, I'm a high school dropout. I don't have business degrees or education to start a business, but I had the passion. I wanted to teach people how to love themselves enough, how to see their value so that they could get jobs they loved. I'm not one of those programs that just puts people into jobs. I want you to be excited about the job that you're applying for, and then that employer, when he's interviewing you or she's interviewing you, is going to sense that enthusiasm and that positive attitude that's so important to find work. So that's why we have so much success with the organization. So that's how I help people. I help people to dream big, and I help people to get excited about who they are, and that anything is possible. Just need to step into it, and feel the fear and do it anyway, because the big things are scary.
Yeah, I think that probably for the majority of us, if you really think about your emotions, fear is what holds you back. And that can be a tough one to overcome. And I so believe in what you're talking about with gratitude, because that really changes our mindset. And I'm sure a lot of people, when you're talking to them and they're in the midst of depression, they're like, what could I even have to be grateful for? But as you said, with the other steps, it's just starting with, well, I'm grateful I woke up today. I'm grateful I was able to get out of bed.
Exactly. And then that builds up. And that's what I say over and over again. My antidepressant is gratitude. I practice gratitude regularly. Whenever I'm feeling a little bit low or low, I'm just like, what is right with my world? What is good? And I'll be sitting on the couch and I got my cat purring on my lap, and there we go, and then it goes beyond that. And when we practice gratitude, try to really think outside of the box. Try to think of something new every day that you weren't thankful for yesterday. For example, I'm thankful for my cat, and I say it over and over again. The other day, she's sitting on my lap and I'm patting her and I'm like, oh my gosh, her fur is so soft. It's not just that I have a cat, but just feeling, being in the moment. And, a couple of years ago, I would not have known how to do that. I was just, okay, yeah, I have a cat. Yeah. But just looking for more. When you're thankful for your food, be thankful for the farmers, be thankful for the people that are working, on the production line to get the food ready for you. So gratitude builds. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the more you think about what you're thankful for, the more thankful you're going to be and the happier you're going to be. And I'm not saying you're going to be happy all the time. That's not a reality. Look at the world we live in. When we accept, it's hard, it's really hard. There's tough stuff going around, and it's hard to be happy because sometimes we feel guilty for being happy when we see so many people, suffering, especially right now with the pandemic. Not everybody is going through some easy times right now.
That's true. And sometimes we forget that, but if we can look at somebody else's life, there's always somebody less fortunate than we are.
So true. I always say a millionaire could be miserable because he wants to be a billionaire. So we could always want more. Right? And it's good to strive for more, but at the same time, we need to be so appreciative and really just always being aware of what we do have.
And that's really hard in the world today, because I think our young kids, as they are growing up, that is not something that they're even aware of doing. They take everything, and I hate to say it, many young people, I'm sorry, but there's this kind of expectancy. They expect stuff. And so instead of having that attitude of gratitude, they expect to have it handed to them. And I think that in and of itself can lead to problems in the future. And if they could grab hold of anything, that attitude of gratitude can just be a life changer, change our mindset, changes our mood, changes our health, changes our mental health, emotional health.
It's so, so true. It's so true. Some of the happiest people I see are the ones that hardly had anything, and maybe even don't have a lot right now, but they see what they do have, and I was one of those spoiled kids. My dad, I just had to beg him and plead, and finally he'd say, yeah, okay. So I pretty much got everything that I wanted. They were always in debt. But that's why, so then when the day came where, I couldn't have it all, that was hard on me, because that level of expectancy. And I needed a total mindset change, not medication.
That is really just incredible to me, that when you're in the midst of depression and you set your mind to the fact that you are not going to be on that medication, that you came off it and it worked for you. How long did it take you to go from getting off your medication and really changing your life around?
Years. But every day, just not living in that state of darkness and never falling back in that, and just knowing that I was never going to fall back in that was life-changing in itself. I went for the jobs that I wanted. I didn't worry about, I didn't have the worry. And it was before I started my organization, having the dream of starting my own company for a while. It didn't happen right away. I incorporated the business 4 years before I actually got the funding. So that journey was me, working for employers, having the dream of starting my own. I always shared it with my employers. I even started a part-time job with an employer that was doing a lot of what I was going to do in the same community. So in a way, I was their competitor. But what happened, I was getting really comfortable there, and then I was forgetting about my dream of actually starting my own. And the depression started coming again.
Mm.
And I started having I didn't end up taking any time off. My mother even was worried about me. She says, Nancy, I think, you need to go see the doctor, because I was just really feeling off. And, she knew what happened before my depression when I was younger. But I said, no, Mom, I've got clients that need me. I'm going to be okay. And it was that point I hired a life coach at the time, and I decided to leave that job and focus on my dream of starting my organization. It was scary. It was
Mm.
scary, but I was actually very fortunate. I did get a layoff, so I was able to, be okay for a while until I got it going. And yeah, so the depression speaks to me. I know that when I'm starting to feel that way, and if practicing gratitude alone doesn't do it, then something is off, and I need to really dig deep to see what it is. Am I being authentic to myself? Am I the questions I ask myself?
Mm. Do you do a lot of journaling?
Oh yes. I am a pro journaler. I wake up at about 5 in the morning. I spend at least an hour with meditation and journaling. When I'm feeling a certain way, I just start to write. I just write whatever's on my mind, and it just flows. And then I find myself on the other end. Journaling is so important for me.
Mm. Yeah, it's a practice that I can't stress to people enough. I mean, I remember as kids, we would keep diaries and keep them locked and write all kinds of, funny little silly things about the boys that we were falling in love with, even though we weren't. But, I mean, if we could even think about it like that, to write down our private thoughts. And I know I've got some I've got locks on them, even though I know that they're easy just to pull off. It makes me feel better. But, I have different journals for different things that I'm writing about. And I think that they can be so powerful in our lives.
They are. It's giving our thoughts actual tangibility, and it is. And I've had the same thought. Sometimes I'm writing, and I'm like, oh, I hope my husband doesn't find this, because I'm saying how I really feel today. And then I just let it go. I'm like, whatever, the feelings, the thoughts. But that's also helped me to be more honest and authentic with him as well, right? So if I gotta hide the journal, then maybe that's telling me something,
Mm.
because I want to be an open book as much as possible, without hurting people, of course, right?
Right. So, do you have any final thoughts or tips that you could share with our listeners?
It always comes back to what I call vitamin A. You know, we're all trying to do more, be better, fix ourselves. Just really take a look in the mirror and just say, I love you, and I want to get to know you. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know your feelings, and just become your own best friend. Treat yourself the way you would treat a friend, and it just begins there. It really does begin there. And then you're going to find what you need. But stop trying to be who you're not. Stop um, comparing yourself to other people. And, everybody's journey is different. I started with no emotional fitness, no emotional health, absolutely the darkest of darkest. And now I consider myself to be pretty emotionally healthy. Of course, it's a journey. Some days I don't feel that way, but that's, again, I'm able to accept that and not run from them. Don't get me wrong, I'm 95%. There's the odd day where I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I just need some sugar, I need some flour. But they're getting less and less. But 95% of the time, I say, okay, feelings, what's going on? And sometimes I don't even know, and I can't put words to it. We can't always put words to it, but just being with yourself. Sometimes that's what we do with our friends, right? We're not going to give them advice. We're not going to say anything. We're just going to be with them. So just be with yourself. So healthy.
So tell our listeners about the free gift that you have for them.
Yes. So I mentioned what I think a couple of what I call nutrients for emotional fitness. A being acceptance. I have an emotional fitness quiz that I offer free. It's you can get it. I think you've got the link. You can get it on my website. And you click on there, you take the quiz. There's a series of questions that goes through every one of the nutrients, and it has action steps that you can take. For example, if gratitude explains gratitude, and you give yourself a rating. If you're lower on gratitude, it's one of the nutrients you're lacking, then you will find a step how to build on gratitude. If acceptance, you're weak with the acceptance part, there's action steps there so that you can get on the journey of being more emotionally fit, which in turn you find more joy, you find more peace of mind. So yeah, that can take you on that journey.
That's exciting. I appreciate you being so vulnerable and sharing your story with us. I know that will really touch the hearts of our listeners, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Lynn, for asking me, and I enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for what you do. That is your focus as well.
Thanks. It's been a pleasure.
You bet. Me too. Bye for now.
Bye.